Harvard Divinity School.
100 Years Rudolf Steiner, December 15th and 16th, 2025.
Maria Prieto is a curator, an architect, an artist, a scholar, a dancer, and a somatic educator with doctoral backgrounds from the University of Manchester and California Institute of Integral Studies. Maria.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me for this amazing panel. My paper talks about the architecture of living water, which is a new lens to examine Rudolf Steiner architecture. Well, the significance of Steiner anthroposophy to education, agriculture, and alternative medicine has received growing scholarly attention in the last 2 decades. His architectural vision remains comparatively understudied in academic discourse, often treated as a peripheral or eccentric episode within modernist design history. This is my point in this paper. The paper argues that Steiner emphasis on water as both aesthetic and etheric force prefigures contemporary concerns in eco and biotic architecture and spiritual ecology, offering a model of design as a transformative, wall-activating practice. So the first Goetheanum, which started in 1913 and was completed in 1919 and ceremonially opened on September 26 in 1920, was his first large-scale architectural realization and the spiritual and cultural heart of the emerging anthroposophical society. The building was conceived to house the society's annual summer theater events and quickly became the nucleus of a growing community of artists, performers, and spiritual seekers in Dornach, Switzerland. Constructed primarily of timber over curving concrete base, the building stood as a radical departure from conventional early 20th century architecture. As you can see, the figures, the decorations that are over the windows have a clear reminiscence of using wood to make the model of this design for the preparation for the architectural building process, and it seems that it's made of wood. As you can see, the formative shape of these elements just on the top of the openings, which is very different from the second version of this building. And this is the community where the builders also had lectures of Steiner on spiritual issues while they were building up this architectural version. And the dome and all the decorations.
Maria, sorry for the interruption. There's a request from the audience to move on to the next slide or to show the appropriate slide. We're still on the first slide.
Oh, really? Ah,
yeah.
So because I'm passing all the slides. So how is not working? You cannot see them? You cannot see my power?
We only see the words of your title.
Oh, really?
The suggestion is that you share share the PowerPoint screen.
Okay. I am sharing the PowerPoint. I can do a screenshot. I'm doing right from my side. You are sharing the screen, saying this.
Okay, Maria, there's a suggestion Can you stop the share and do a reshare of that PowerPoint screen?
Okay. I will do it. Okay, because this is what I.
Yeah, and suggest maybe close the PDF and just have the PowerPoint.
Okay. So now, can't you see? Thank you for asking me because I was running. Can you see now?
Yeah, now it's still the title screen, and maybe you want to skip forward to the slide you're talking about now.
Okay, I'm sharing again, so I don't know what is happening. Okay, I'm going to close the PDF because I'm not using the PDF. I'm using this. You can see this. Okay, let's see. Well,
Yeah. Just now we just see you, and it was working a minute ago, and that's yes. And now to jump forward to the slide you want to talk about now.
so you can see now?
Yeah, that's just the first. Now is a photo of Steiner.
Perfect. So, okay. So I was sharing this, the literature that there is about this architecture. So you didn't see anything of this, right?
That's right.
Okay. So I'm running. Okay. I was now at this point, this is the community, the workers and the spiritual seekers, the members of the society, the domes, and all this delicacy in the shape of these flowing forms of spiritual forces in his aesthetic cosmology. So this first Goetheanum was conceived as a Gesamtkunstwerk, a total work of art in architecture with sculpture, painting, stained glass, music, speech, and movement, which were integrated into a single experiential organism. Rather than functioning as a neutral container for art, the building itself was a primary artistic medium, as we can see. So metamorphosis was conceived as a form logic. The entire structure was conceived according to Goethean principles of transformation. Columns, capitals, architraves, and domes were curved as sequences of evolving forms, suggesting continuous becoming rather than a fixed typology. Also, the duality and polarity, the iconic double dome structure executed in laminated and steam bent timber, express dynamic tension and dialogue between the inner and the outer, the cosmic and the earthly, the thinking and willing. And also this sense of plasticity over Cartesian geometry, which was very, very central to modern architecture. Straight lines and right angles were largely avoided. Instead, the building unfolded through curve, swelling, and tapering forms, anticipating later organic and expressionist architecture. So the result was a piece in which aesthetic perception became participatory, requiring movement, attention, and imaginative engagement from the visitor. So the scientific and formative principles, the Goethean formology in this architecture, is founded and grounded in this Goethean science, particularly Goethe's morphological method, which seeks to understand living phenomena through their formative process rather than through abstraction. And this architectural design functioning as a three-dimensional experiment in morphology. Columns as developmental sequences. Each column was curved with a unique metamorphic progression embodying temporal transformation rather than stylistic repetition. Form as process. Architectural elements were not conceived as isolated parts, but as moments within a continuous field of coming, echoing Goethe's concept of upflange. And embodied cognition. The building required the observer to think in movement, rhythm, and sequence, mirroring Steiner's belief that true knowledge arises through participatory aesthetic engagement. In this sense, this first Goetheanum can be understood as a scientific instrument, a spatial laboratory for training the aesthetic sensitivity in living form. The second, well, this, as you know, this there was the fire, which is also like a kind of presence of these flowing forces of nature. In a way, I mean, in comparison to this wavy, rippling shapes of flowing pranic energy, spiritual energy. So this is also interesting. That was the end of this first Goetheanum. So the second Goetheanum stands as a monumental expression of his vision of architecture, blending a spiritual insight, ecological awareness, and an organic approach to design. A symbol of this of the anthroposophical movement, this building was not only a site of intellectual spiritual engagement, but also the embodiment of his deeper understanding of the relationship between humanity, nature, and the cosmos. It was built between 1924 and 1928, and it remains a pioneering work in organic and spiritual architecture, realized through its radical use of concrete and its attention to fluidity, natural forms, and sacred geometry. As this paper explores the architecture of living water as a core component of Steiner's aesthetic cosmology and spiritual ecology of design practice, I want to investigate how he infused his architecture with pranic forces, fluidity, as I said, and a profound respect for the material and metaphysical world, both the material nature of concrete and also his own experience of the spiritual realms, and particularly in relationship to water, its movement, and its spiritual significance. So in 1923, following the fire that destroyed the first Goetheanum, Steiner designed this second version made entirely of cast concrete. So the 3 years after Steiner's death, it was completed, the building was fully shaped by his spiritual and architectural principles. Michael Brennan, an art critic, described the Goetheanum as a true masterpiece of the 20th century's posthumous architecture, highlighting its radical departure from conventional architectural forms. It was not merely a physical structure. It was conceived as a living organism. It was intended to represent ideas of the anthroposophical society and esoteric, his movement, where art, science, and spirituality were interwoven to form an integral worldview. As such, it was designed as a spiritual space for engaging in deep intellectual, artistic, and spiritual practices that would bring individuals into contact with the higher spiritual realities. At the heart of this architecture, Steiner wanted to reflect a living, ever-changing, the living and ever-changing dynamics of nature. With advocating for fluid, flowing lines, curves, and rounded shapes that mimic the organic rhythms of the natural world. For example, here we see that the roof is in the same material in this part of this volume that protrudes from the other facade, is in the same material, and this line we see that is to retain the rainwater, but also to create a kind of falling water through the concrete facade, making it reflective and also being decorated by this just a transitory plane of watery, reflective, and mirroring the landscapes around the building. So these forms combined with the natural material.
Maria, sorry for the interruption. This is your 4-minute bell. Four minutes.
I have 4 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to run just to show quickly these sculptural forms, and also to explain how water became or is a spiritual and formative element central to this building. So the treatment of water is by understanding water as an aesthetic material and a spiritual force. So the aesthetic cosmology of this building, well, I'm going to stay here, refers to the relationship between architectural form, materiality, and the cosmic principles. So the flowing undulated walls, curved surfaces, sculpted concrete inside evoke the fluidity of these natural processes as the movement of water, wind, and life itself. And the spiritual ecology of the design practice in both Goetheanians and in this one, in the later one specifically, emphasizes the interconnectedness of human beings, the environment, and the cosmos. His design was rooted in the understanding that architecture is not merely a physical construct, but a spiritual organism that reflects and engages with ecological systems. And here I want to jump now to these drawings by Steiner himself in his lectures, which is this lemniscate, that somehow observes him when describing this integration and the non-duality of the material and the spiritual realms, and that is also found in nature, and also inspire this fountain by the Flowform Institute, and also drawing on the work of this of Theodor Schwenk, that was previous to the work of John Wilkes. And also this we see this diagram by Rudolf Steiner, also mimicking this lemniscate movement of the superior planets, and also somehow recollected from the meditations in his book of the Calendar of the Soul, and the later work in this recent book. So my field work was, I visited this institute, the Flowform Institute, which is in Sussex, in the south of London, in Emerson College. And this is a model of this, it's a kind of purifier, water purifier, which is inspired by the functioning of the heart, of the human heart, which makes a similar movement as the blood inside of this organ. And he identified a pattern.
Maria, final minute.
Yes, a pattern that makes this is he himself showing with his hand the gesture of the vortex of the heart in these shapes. And this is a work that was commissioned by a factory to integrate water, four-phase water purified by this sculpture machine, which is called Biosophia. And in an interview, one of the collaborators, he told me that this water tastes wetter, and also it's also like it works like a healing medicine. I mean, also speeds up any healing processes. And this is in the face of mountain. Now it is in the Warfare School in Stuttgart. And I just wanted to also connect this with the work of Bruno Taut and the Bauhaus movement, and to show how also Bruno Taut was sensitive to the movement of water, always taking the cascade and the shape, the rhythms and the reflections of water next to the staircase, next to the human body movements around this structure, also with the stained glass and color glass and figures and reflective tales that also somehow also was inspiring in the Goetheanum in the first and the second.
Sponsored by the Program for the Evolution of Spirituality.
Copyright 2023, President and Fellows of Harvard College.